This is Eden from Helixx VR. Today I'll be reviewing A Handful of Keflings, a cartoony city builder game for HTC Vive and Oculus Rift by Ninja Bee. This is the third game in the Keflings series, but the first for VR. Some may be familiar with A Kingdom of Keflings and A World of Keflings, both originating on the Xbox 360. I'll start off this review with an important point for those who have played the previous versions. This game is single player, sandbox mode only. There is no multiplayer, and no campaign or story of any sort, unlike the previous games. For those less familiar with the series, the gameplay consists of building up your city, which is inhabited by little humanoid creatures called Keflings. There is no managing their needs or desires as in some similar games, and they will happily act as your slave labour force, doing as you see fit. In fact, they'll even complain when they cannot do their job, so you can make adjustments to get them back to work. They'll collect stone, wood, gems and wool for you as you build the appropriate buildings. They'll also process it into more advanced materials, store it in the storehouses, give you permanent boosts and the like. To create buildings, you need to use a blueprint. You choose the correct blueprint and it will tell you the pieces required and the effect. A house, for example, will create 2 new Keflings for your workforce and requires 4 pieces. If you have the resources for those pieces, you can create them and place them down on the map in the correct order. One nice feature of the blueprints is that it shows you where the next pieces should go after enough pieces are down. This can help on some larger buildings, such as the Wizard's Tower, which requires 10 pieces in the correct order. The way to unlock new buildings with new or better effects is to create at least one of the buildings you already know how to create. This unlocks the next part of the blueprints tree. You can pick up your Keflings to assign them to work in a building or mine and change this as needed. Some buildings you can start and pause as needed to help you manage your resources. At times, you'll want to keep your basic stone rather than have your Keflings process it into more advanced materials. You can also place your hand over a mine or building and collect or create the resource yourself at a faster rate, which varies based on your buildings. Now, this is a nice relaxing game. It's even seated, which is a nice change. It's quite easy to play and not realise just how much time you've spent expanding your city. That said, there are some downsides. Being sandboxed, the only real sense of progression you get from this game is unlocking more blueprints. I personally think that this was an opportunity lost, as some kind of direction, even if it was as simple as randomised objectives to complete, would be a huge improvement in this area. That would be my major complaint. There are Steam achievements, which is something, but they're not integrated into the game well. I say this next part despite enjoying the game quite a bit. Overall, it feels lacking. Not just the lack of anything but sandbox mode, but you have one soundtrack from a previous game in the background, 2 models of Keflings, 1 type of land, no tutorial, just some help pages which explain some of it. You're actually left to figure out a lot of the game yourself, and it just feels like there could have been a lot more. The only part which really feels fleshed out is the amount of different types of buildings, which is over 50. Some people might be surprised that this is a VR game. To be honest, it could have been a regular flat screen game, as at no point does the VR feel needed as such. That said, it actually has been implemented quite well, and while not needed, it does work brilliantly. The controls are very intuitive, and interacting with the world and Keflings with them works quite well. You may have read reviews or seen my own live stream of the game mentioning that text is difficult to read. Originally this was the case, but I've had no issues reading anything in-game since an update, which happened soon after the release. In my opinion, A Handful of Keflings is a good game and I do recommend it. Admittedly, it could have been a lot better. If you like city builders, it's worth grabbing now, but otherwise I'd wait until a sale so you don't feel cheated by the lack of content. I can understand why they've set the price they have. It's a niche within a niche. The fact that it likely won't sell brilliantly probably explains why it's lacking certain aspects too. Once again, this was Eden from Helixx VR. If you'd like to see more content like this, please remember to like and subscribe.